Welcome back to Moderating Life, DLG's 20th anniversary podcast, episode 3. And today we're pulling back the curtain even more because yes, research is a serious business, but it can also be hilarious, awkward, and sometimes just plain wild.
Absolutely. There's what happens in the focus group, and then there's what happens behind the mirror. And today, you're getting both. Think tequila, pole dancing, a love story, and a very confused participant who thought Elvia was famous.
Spoiler alert, I am not, but he would not believe me. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yes, we're going to tell you a few real-life stories that give color to our days and evenings as moderators. Elvia, why don't you start?
Yes, let's start with something unforgettable, really. I was conducting a one-on-one in a research facility as usual. You know, there's always a two-way mirror.
Right.
Clients kind of serve the session as you are moderating. So this participant, a lovely lady, sweet lady, she was so comfortable that completely forgot that A, she was being recorded, and B, there was people observing the session.
No.
So towards the end of the session, you know, I told her that I was going to check in the back room for questions like we always do. And as I leave the room and as I enter the observation room where the clients were, I see her lifting her skirt completely, fixing her under something. I don't know, she was fixing something. And the client, I just see the client going like this.
Looking down.
At the moment, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should just run and tell her or just ignore it. At the moment, it was very uncomfortable, but it sure gave us a laugh during the debrief.
Oh, man. And I'm sure that's a reminder to tell participants you're being filmed.
Yes.
There's a two-way mirror. Remember that.
Yes, and we always do. But, you know, sometimes it's worth telling them several times throughout the session because, again, they are so comfortable that they forget. But, yeah, that's a story I will never forget. And I have to add that for the recording, I made sure to delete that part.
Oh, man, that's so nice. That's great. That's great. Tell us one more.
Yes, I sure do. There was this other time I had a participant that from the very beginning, as soon as he walked into the room, he saw me with a certain different look. You know, he was just observing me.
Okay.
And he started asking if I was famous. And with everybody there, I was like, no, I am not. I am.
He thought you were somebody famous.
Oh, but like famous. But he kept asking, are you been in telenovelas? Have you been in... Like, he was just trying to figure out who I was.
You were.
Little did he know, I was nobody, right? I was just the moderator, but he would not believe me. He kept asking anyways. I kept my session as usual. And towards the end of the group, he waited for everyone to leave the room.
Oh.
And then he comes to me with a notebook. And he asked for my signature, for my autograph, I must say.
How cute. Did you give it?
Of course. I was not going to disappoint my biggest fan. I remember just putting, okay, I'm going to sign it, but I'm not famous. And I actually put to my biggest fan, signed Elvia, not so famous.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
It was so cute. And I'm almost sure he still has that somewhere thinking that I'm someone that he couldn't put a name to it.
That's a great
funny.
story. That's a great story.
So yes, what about you? Do you have a story for us?
Oh, absolutely. I have one for the edges. We were doing friendship groups, when we recruit one participant to be the hostess and she invites her friends because that's how people shop, influenced by their friends. So that is the logistics behind that. We want to really understand how people shop and how they influence each other. So we arrived to the hostess home, and from the outside, it already looked a little suspicious. But we went in, we knocked on the door, and a delightful young lady opened the door, and she welcomed us in. And then I noticed that there was very little natural light. There were thick curtains blocking the light. And there was a certain aroma in the air, if you know what I mean.
I assume it wasn't scented candles?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But you know what? That's fine. each its own, but it was perfectly fine. So we started talking, and I noticed she had several cats. So I asked her very kindly, do you like, I see cats, do you like kittens? And she showed me her tattoos of kitten paws that went all the way up her leg, and that was a little uncomfortable, but we chatted and she was delightful again.
That's a way to warm up.
Yeah, that's a way to warm up, of course. We're waiting for her friends to show up, and all of a sudden they're there with chips and salsa and cheese and 2 bottles, one of tequila and one of vodka.
Wow.
And it turned into a full pregame. They said, yes, sure. Questions, shots first, questions later. So, they started drinking, and it actually made for a very fun and lively interview.
I mean, it's a reminder that participants and consumers come in pretty much all colors.
Yeah, absolutely. They actually turn out to be dancers and not the ballet kind. Nothing illegal or nothing like that.
Not judging
but
here.
No, not judgment at all. But you're right, a reminder that consumers come in all flavors. Now, good thing that the client did not attend that session. She had to take a flight out. But from that moment on, we made it a requirement to ask for pictures and videos of the houses when we're doing in-homes, so that we know what kind of environment we're walking
Yep,
into.
that's definitely a practice that we implemented, along the way. Well, that was wild. Do you have another story?
I sure do. And this one cracks me up, and it's still a little bit cringy. We were doing focus group sessions for an adult beverage company, a Scotch whiskey to be precise.
I know this story. Continue.
Oh my goodness. We had prototypes, bottles, and also competitors' bottles. And we have a group of young men testing and tasting the product. And, at the end of the session, I go to the back room, as we always do, to make sure that we have covered everything, that the client doesn't have any more questions. And as I step into the back, I see this young guy getting up from his seat, very casually, grabbing a bottle and putting it in his backpack, just like nothing. And we're like,
oh my God.
Man, I can see you. Come on. So I had to go back into the room, play it cool, and say, guys, thank you so much. Before I let you go, I just want to tell you I have another session coming right up. I'm going to need all the bottles back where you found them. And just as casually as he put it into his backpack, he took it out of his backpack and placed it back on the table.
Oh, my God.
I know, but you know what was the worst part? He tried to steal the competitor's brand, so not even the client's brand.
Double embarrassment.
It was a double embarrassing. Man, that was a great story.
Wow, that is crazy. Well, we've talked about consumers and participants, and we talked about moderators, but you know who's not off the hook? Clients.
Yes.
I have a story about a client. Very often, clients get excited when during the sessions, they whether it's because they like what they're hearing or they don't like what they're hearing, there's always excitement.
Sure. And they have personalities that we have to manage. Absolutely.
Yes. But there was this one time that I was conducting sessions for a dairy product, and the client, we were doing tastings. So the participants were giving so many compliments to the client's brand. He was so happy behind the group that with no notice, he just walked into the room and introduced himself to the people, saying, hi, my name is so-and-so. I am the owner of the company. And it's not a little company. It is a big company.
Oh, wow.
So obviously the participants loved it. We were like almost clapping and everything. And he thanked them for their comments. And, he was just being charming and being very excited. But I had no idea he was going to do that. I mean, I have to be fair. Thank God it was towards the end of the session.
Sure.
So really, no, the insights were not.
It didn't disturb as much.
No. Yeah. But it was surprising. It caught me, let's just say, off guard, right?
Yeah, but we love an engaged CEO.
Yes, and he loved the moment. He loved that contact with the consumers. And he actually asked me if he could do that for all the other sessions.
Awesome.
And of course, we incorporated into the guide towards the end of the session, and he did that for all of the other groups. He loved it. Consumer loved it. So
it's
why
good.
not?
And it's great to have your client very engaged and
Yes.
really listening to the consumer. That's great.
Yes.
I have an awesome client story, and
Tell
this
us.
one happened here in Houston. We were doing research with a very big financial service company, national, big name. So we were at the nice area here in town, very fancy offices. And the receptionist was a very attractive young lady who was in charge of checking everybody in and making sure that copies are made, that all the logistics for the focus groups were up to par. And, we started the sessions, and one of our clients that was observing, also a attractive young man, all of a sudden took a lot of interest in the logistics. He kept asking for more M&Ms, and oh no, we ran out of sparkling water. So that
Of course.
receptionist.
I see where this is going.
Every time that she walked into the room, you could feel the eyes and the tension.
Love
there.
was in the air, I guess.
Exactly. And we continued the sessions, and everything was okay until the very last one. And our groups were designed so that I would go back to the room a couple of times throughout the session. So the first time in the last session that I went back, and I noticed that he wasn't there. The other clients were, and we did what we needed to do, but he wasn't there. And I asked, and they said, oh, he had to go and take a phone call. Okay, fine. 15 minutes later, I go back into the back room, and he's still not there. So we finished the session. We're wrapping things up, and I see the receptionist a little bit anxious and looking at her clock and rushing to get going. So I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. We picked up our papers and whatever we needed. And I text the client on my way out, hey, I noticed that, you weren't there in the last session very much. Is everything okay? And he just texted, everything is good. Apologies for ducking out early. I'm having drinks with the receptionist.
Oh my God, double purpose for the research. Good insights plus a date.
Exactly. We don't judge.
Of course.
But it's a reminder that when you are observing sessions, you are also being observed. Us as moderators, we see everything.
Yeah, it really, if you think about it, research is structured, strategic, and insightful, but it's also real life and real people. And sometimes that means stories that make you laugh for years, like these ones.
Yes. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining us. And if you've ever been in a focus group, we see everything. Kidding, not kidding. And everything is recorded.
So that's all for this episode. Thank you from your friends at DLG Research. Insightful research.
Actionable results.
See you next time.